Hello all, this is Chris Karasiadis,
Eh,
and it's the Aqua Agitators podcast. And together with me, I have today Jesper from Water Impact Partners. Jesper, hello, greetings from Amsterdam. How's everything on your
Hey,
side?
Christus. Hey, Christus. Everything is good. Everything is good.
So, would you mind giving us a quick intro about who you are and what you're doing in the water industry?
Yeah, of course. I'm the co-founder of Water Impact Partners. And Water Impact Partners is an advisory where we actually advise both investors going into the water industry with
Hmm.
investment or investors that already have invested in the water industry,
Hmm.
but have challenges to have them grow the portfolio companies they're invested in. And then on the other side, we have direct advisory to the water technology companies that are bridging towards Series A and onwards. So that's basically what we're doing. And then, of course, talking about growth, we can talk about that as well
Hmm.
in this. But talking about growth, growth is much more than sales and funding. Growth is a lot of other things that is something to be aware of, especially in the water sector. So that's what we do at Water Impact Partners. We are currently four senior advisors. All of us has plus 15 years of experience. We have our operational headquarters in UAE, in Dubai.
Hmm.
We are represented in Europe. We are represented in US as well. So in Philadelphia, in Aarhus, in Denmark, and outside Geneva, actually on the French side, Swiss French, and then in Dubai.
But you yourself, you have a long history in the water sector with business growth, right?
Yeah, I have some sort of long history, but if I can maybe put a few words on that one, is quite some years ago, I built not water techs, but I built actually technology companies and
Hmm.
software as a service companies. Back in the early days of the mobile space, we built an app that was doing documentation of constructions of buildings. So
Hmm.
when you have under construction of a building after the handover has been done, that was pretty cumbersome back then in 7 and 8 and 9. So that was where I built my first company. And since then, after that, I sold that in 2012. I have been senior advisor for all 9 years, an executive advisor in my own company,
Hmm.
advisor in digital transformation, and have been part of quite a few cases on mergers and within the software as a service and platform as a service space. And that in 2020 that morphed into my really deep journey into water by joining the Grundfos Future Lab and the leadership team there. And actually, Seat Bajrovic, my co-founder,
Hmm.
he sold his company in Aarhus in Denmark, where we have the same
Okay.
investor and the same chairman back in 12. So he joined Grundfos actually, and while I was almost 9.5 years on my own, he has been running a lot of transformation projects in Grundfos, CVC, ARMS, digital transformation projects, and a lot of other things. So we joined the Grundfos Future Lab back in 20, part of the leadership team building an innovation arm for Grundfos, looking into various verticals of the water industry to see where Grundfos could play a role. And that led me to move to UAE, to Dubai. And after some time, after I have been, running the team, I had a global team based in Europe, in Asia, in African continent, in US, and in the Middle East. I chose to step out of Grundfos and help one of our partner companies in the transformation of the company, doing atmospheric water. And while I was doing that, Seat has actually left Grundfos and was the COO of Aliaxis Next, a
Hmm.
big initiative looking into water. Aliaxis is, of course, one of the biggest pipe manufacturers
Hmm.
in the world.
Yeah.
So Seat has done a lot of investment through that role, where they invested in six companies in funds of funds and acquired some companies fully, and he was part of that process. But we decided earlier this year to join forces because we
Hmm.
could see there was a gap in the market of water technology companies, and it's an interesting space, the water industry, because on the other hand, on one side you have some very big players
Hmm.
been around for 70, 80, 100 years almost, and actually even
Yeah.
more, some of them. Um, and you don't see much innovation coming out. So my personal belief is that the innovation must come from the very purpose-driven in the beginning. I'll come back to that.
Hmm.
Founders in the water industry. that want to solve some of the biggest challenges we have with water, where either we have too much, we have too little, or it's too contaminated, or it could be a mix of all three, especially on the contamination side. So I think what we wanted to achieve is that we want to make sure that more water technology companies grow faster, because if we on in a general term, or generally speaking, when we see faster growing water technology companies, we will attract more capital. So if you look at renewable energy, like solar, wind, power to X, hydrogen has attracted a lot of capital from a lot of big players. But the water industry somehow have missed out on that. So it's an interesting time for the water industry.
Do you think that has to do mainly with innovation, or is it the lack of business impact, essential and financial impact of the water industry?
I think it's a bit of combination. So having spoken to hundreds and hundreds of water technology companies over the years, I think that one of the big challenges is that on one hand, a lot of investors don't know much about water. They tend to know much more about energy on one hand, and then on the other hand, you have a lot of the water technology companies that are very purpose driven. And it's good to be purpose driven to some extent in your
Hmm.
journey, but at some part or at some stage in your growth journey as a water technology company, if you really would like to have big impact and fulfill your purpose, you also need to build a strong business. And that is what I see, and what we see advising the water techs and the investors as well, is that at some point you also have to build a business. It sounds, very,
Hmm.
not like rocket science, but for some companies to grow a water business is actually to maybe also get away from the nerdery around the water technology and
Hmm.
looking into how to build a business. And that's of course also where we come in with companies that are just pre-Series A. They got a product, they got some traction, they got some customers, they have their product market fit some all sorted out. But to
Hmm.
take this to the next step, to go into multiple markets, scaling up production, maybe building a manufacturing site on their own, all of these things is, of course, requiring a lot of cash. Compared to where I come from, the software as a service, it's get some get some more developers and do some
Yeah.
more zeros and ones and some code, and then that's it. I'm not saying that's easier, but it's easier than building a physical product, or
Hmm.
a physical product and a digital product, which mainly is in the water industry. So water is a physical product, and most of them are physical products. So it takes both capital, but it also takes a mindset of building a business. And it can seem very simple, but I see those two are in combination what is the biggest showstopper for the water industry at the moment. And then if you look at the big corporates, as I mentioned, the old guys in the industry, um, they are running a really, really strong business. So the big players in the market that has existed for many years um, have a really solid business, and their struggle is the classical transformation.
Yeah.
So how to actually adopt new technologies into a business where it's not your core technology, it's not even maybe the core business of your company, but it's somehow related to the water industry. So that's where the challenges comes, and to turn that around, it will take quite some time. And I think the water industry don't have, in general speaking, if you look at the challenges we don't have time for the big ones to actually begin to throw off some really strong innovations.
So, if you don't mind my saying, what I hear from you is that the majority of the water industry has some good technology ideas, has some good marketing ideas, but we lack in business acumen,
Yes,
and
correct.
we need to step up. Do you think we have open enough ears to do that?
No, No, I think it has been going on for quite some time now, and I think some are forced to because either you run out of money,
Yep.
that's a simple one, and you close, or you actually begin to do something about it. We even last week I talked to a founder where he said, actually almost like literally, I've come to a point where my competencies is out of league because my vision with the company, I don't have the competencies to actually leverage on that to build such a global big business within his, and he needed help from outside. So he needed help with someone that has seen this before, worked in know the industry, but not know the industry so deep in a
Yep.
vertical that they don't have the generalistic approach of
Mhm.
actually how to build a business, where to look, how to focus, and how to actually narrow your offerings and services to an extent where you can actually carve out a vertical that then can go globally.
It goes back to the axiom "Know thyself." No? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the thing is, again, sorry to backtrack
No, that's okay.
to that
That's okay.
point. We all want more investment in the water space, right?
Mm,
And we need to build, as you said, actually functioning businesses to do
mm,
that.
yes.
But what about of the value of the industry itself? Are you happy with that as where it stands? And is there anything that we can do to fix it?
The value almost, in any cases follow traction. But what we see now, an interesting thing, if you follow how it goes with solar and wind,
Hmm.
are struggling right now. So a lot of the, let's call them impact companies around the world are struggling at the moment because a lot of them have been heavily subsidized into the market by governments around the world. So when you have that into a certain point, you also need again to build a business, and that's why they're struggling as well at the moment.
Hmm.
So if you look at the solar and the wind turbine and so on, that they are struggling as well at the moment. But of course, the factor of capital is multiple higher than going into water. And the interesting thing is that you can build impact products like solar and wind and power to X without water. So it's so the whole energy industry is relying on water, and you have to remember that we're at a tipping point now where we have to uh, boost solutions and technologies to actually solve some of those problems. So, a solar panel takes 12,000 liters of water to produce. Wind turbine, 4.6 million liters of water for one wind turbine. And then you can just, calculate how much water you need for that growth globally. So you need water for that. And then on the other hand, just one point that I think has been interesting to follow at least the last 5, 6 years, where water has come from very purpose-driven mindset into something where even governments now can see that um, a society, no matter where you live in the world,
Hmm.
are growing. So we are getting more people, and with more people, we create more growth, and with more growth, we create more manufacturing, and with more manufacturing, you need more water. So there are big corporates right now that are beginning to see shortage of water, either from legislation point of view or simply just run out of water. Groundwater. It could be, if they're next to the sea, they have desal, which I know is something you know quite a lot about, Christus. Then, of course, they can begin to take water out. But there's a lot of companies that are beginning to see this is becoming a risk. So if our manufacturing or production plant is in a place or in a region or area where the next maybe 8 years we'll run out of water, we already now have to begin to find out, can we apply technology so we don't do that? Or should we move the plant, which cost billions of dollars to
Yep.
to actually do, or close it down and then move that production to region? So these are some of the things that are beginning to emerge on the agendas of the politicians, of the corporates, and also by I would not say the broad population yet, because they, at least where I come from in Denmark, no one believes me when I say we might run out of water. But they are beginning to look into that since we have closed down in Denmark in 24 300 water reservoirs. So
Yeah, we Netherlands is running out of water, for God's sake.
yeah,
Yeah, that's and
yeah,
it's raining here like 24/7.
yes,
But yeah, you need to make essentially what you describe. I call it business awareness and societal awareness. And I think that we haven't been enough proactive as an industry to convey the message outside of our immediate professional bubble, and thus we lose a lot of commercial potential. That's my
exactly.
take on things, and this is why I'm
Yeah,
always trying to convince, let's say, the heads of companies to be proactive commercially in order to get essentially more projects. Is there any way
yeah,
that sorry to interrupt? Is there any way that you think we can turn the water problem into an ethical problem in societal awareness terms?
yeah. I think we can do the more we communicate about the fact-based problems and not and by all means and all respect and everything is that I'm a bit tired of hearing that 2 billion people in the world need access to water and all these
Hmm.
things. I'm more interested in to talk about the real. That's also a real problem. Don't misunderstand me. But the real problem is that in all regions of the world is that we need to find out how we first of all make sure we have enough clean water.
Hmm.
And I'm not only talking about drinking water in this context. So we have enough clean water, and then how we distribute the water needs to be we need to rethink how we distribute water. And within those only those two, it's like
Yeah.
trillions and trillions of business potential. Only in those two.
Yep.
How do we distribute? How do we make sure we have enough water? And there's a lot of technologies out there, but they're not big enough to be supported by big utilities, governments on a country or nationwide scale or on a regional scale. And that's why I think that if we can unlock the financial part, so there's enough capital out there in the world at the moment. So if we can unlock that potential to get investors to understand this challenge and this business opportunity
Hmm.
that have never ever invested in water, they might have invested in properties in US, large scale
Yeah.
building properties or whatever it is. They are so far away, and they from knowing the industry, which is of course fair enough. So they don't see the potential. But if we can convince, and not even convince, it's basically facts. So showing the facts also, from a financial point of view, to say it actually is beneficial to also invest in water, because the more money that gets into water, the more we can fuel the whole water technology sector from bottom down instead of top up. Because if I think a lot of have relied on that the big players in the market will fuel that, but that's not going to happen, and then it's never going to happen, and for many reasons, and for valid reasons as well. So I think that what we need to do now in the water industry, we need to talk about more how we can attract capital to the water industry. That is my personal agenda as well.
And it's completely worthwhile and fully understandable, and it's one of also my top priorities. But do you think we need more venture capital for innovation or projects?
I think the water industry. If you look at the filings of IP, it's actually going fairly okay.
Hmm.
So a lot of new IPs within the water sector is going up. I think there are two things. There are water technology companies that are, let's just make a line on Series A. So
Hmm.
pre-Series A and post-Series A. Post-Series A is more like and B and onwards. That's more like growth and get your foothold, building a business. Before that, I see there's a lot of good accelerator programs out there. So you have them in US, you have them in Europe, you have them in Middle East, you actually basically have them all over the world, where you are able to fuel the early stage, technologies. But you have to remember that if on an average you build a company, no matter if it's the water industry or which industry it is, on average it takes 6 to 8 years to come to the point where you have a business. You are beginning to, have a, and in the water industry, it can actually take longer.
10 to 12 years.
Yes. So when you have the big players in the market that has, I've known them quite well from inside as well. So the innovation lab, the accelerators, and so on, they're really, really good at, oh, we have a great idea. Yeah. But, when you begin to hit the market with real customers and products and liability and insurance and, all that, it's a different ballgame, and a lot of them stop there. But the interesting thing is that all the innovation initiative that comes from the big players, they last on average 4 to 6 years. It takes 8 to 12 years to build a business, which means that before you're actually able to build a business, it's, you close these initiatives down. The other hand, when you have accelerators, you can then go into an accelerator program the next, 6 to 12 months. Good, by all means. You can get access to some customers and, do some pilots. But there you lack, the business part. So it's pilots. It's, some can be paid pilots, but it's not something you can, grow your business on. Of course, you can then maybe be able to attract some capital, but that would be, less capital than when you have, a post-Series A. So this period of inception of an idea to water tech to, Series A and onwards, there's a huge gap financially. And it doesn't come from the big players. The accelerators are good at promoting them, but when it then comes to scaling, let's say you work with water utilities, the lead time can be everything from 14 days to 8 years. So you have this gap where a lot of companies actually just close down, or just disappear into nothingness.
And this is why I'm saying perhaps it makes more sense in the end to prioritize BOO, BOT, PPP projects in the water space
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
grow the water business and give more room for innovation and ideas to grow.
Correct.
And I don't know, to be honest, how to do that. And this is why I'm going all around this concept of growing the value of an awareness for the water industry.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans as of now with Water Impact Partners? And if you don't mind my asking, I think you're very keen in AWG systems right now.
Yeah. 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 We have a few. We've carved out a few areas where we, again, based on our experience, can see some interesting potential. One of them is in the very, very broad sense of digital water management. So buildings, utilities, leak detection, energy optimization, all that. It's a big play. Some have only software, some have software and sensors, some have, various physical products in combination. That is an interesting space because that have to be consolidated, and it will be consolidated. It's the most crowded space within the water industry. It's where there's most companies, and it's because a lot of the companies have started out, in a country. They got a few customers, but then they're staying within the country. Maybe they have, a few customers, outside the country of operations or in inception. But they're not, growing. So when they're at, between 1 to 3 million US in revenue, that's basically it. There are very, very, very few that are above that. Again, the big players we have in the industry, also the tech players within the industry, seems not to have broken this, whole product suite. I normally call them the Office 365 for water. So today, many of the ones that are using water technology products, they need to use, different vendors and it's you have to log in, you have to log out, you have to see this here, and you have to see that there. Or then if you have a developers department, then you are building like an overview yourself. But there's no player that can absorb both
Hmm.
water utilities, buildings, industrial. There's no player, and I can see there are potential there. So that's why we're looking into that. And the other thing is around water treatment. Water treatment is an old player, you know that as
Hmm.
well. So
Hmm.
water treatment is an old player, but a lot of new technologies. We see, a lot of the things are going on in PFAS.
Hmm.
So a lot of companies has been in R&D accelerator mode for almost 9 to 10 years, and are now beginning to come out of the shadow, actually, to have nailed solutions that are market ready now. That's an interesting space around water treatment, and especially also decentralized water treatment.
Okay.
In Europe we all go centralized, but the biggest markets in the world are decentralizing their water utilities and their treatment. So that's an interesting thing. And then we have new water sources, as the atmospheric water generation falls into that bucket,
Hmm.
with rainwater harvesting, atmospheric water generation, actually also water reuse, which is some sort of a new water source where you
Hmm.
have existing water you are reusing again and again and again for industrial purposes, for drinking water, for various application areas.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think that it's not easy, definitely, to innovate and
Yep.
to persist in the water space. And I'm really glad that we have people like you and Seed to help us out. It's much appreciated. It makes it it's even better when the help it comes from interesting people like you both. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the water impact partners are going to do next in the market. Jesper, thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to stay in touch and see where this goes.
It's been a pleasure, Christos. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a good day.